I think the most important thing is to spend your time wisely. And in spending your time wisely, getting educated is probably the most important thing to do because you make the best use of your most important asset, which is time. It allows you jumpstart things where in the past you would have to spend a lot of time reading, learning, perhaps making mistakes. So the education to me is the number one important thing to get in place. If you Once you get that in place, you should also get yourself into a community where you can continue to grow within that community. On top of that, I think a number of things which have been important for me are having a trading journal, um, managing my two important assets, time and money, very, very well to ensure I get the right return from them. Reviewing all my trades to ensure, reviewing my trading journal and all my trades to ensure that I learn from the mistakes I made and the things which I've done well, because I think we constantly evolve, you can't just learn something and then hope that it stays forever. And like the markets, we have to evolve to go with what happens.
Okay. Hi, welcome to another show of Option Market Wizard. And today I have Tony with me joining in from Singapore. And Tony will be sharing with you his journey about options trading, about the investing and trading. And I'm so glad, so privileged, and at the same time honored to have Tony on my show. Welcome, Tony.
Hi everyone.
Tony, could you please share a little bit about yourself with my viewers? Where are you from? Why did you pick up option trading?
Okay, I'm originally from Ireland, but I've been living in Singapore for 23 years. I started option trading or got interested in option trading maybe about 6 years ago. Prior to that, I had been doing some investing using other instruments like CFDs, and I also dabbled a little bit in Forex trading, but none of these really resonated with me. The CFDs I was okay with, but I didn't like the risk approach with them. So I had seen a little bit about options. I started doing some reading on them, and I found that the instruments seemed to be interesting to me from managing my risk and also having an ability to leverage and upscale some of the rewards. So that's how I ended up finding options.
And what is it that really excited you when you found options? What were 2 or 3 things of characteristics of option or the qualities of option that attracted you the most?
So the first one, because I'm a relatively conservative person, was in many of the cases I had very good defined risk for me. That was good because I was able to manage my positions, understand what the ultimate loss was. The second was the reward in some cases, where when I was using some of the leverage of the options, that I got the reward for everything. And I think the third was more in the area of, I guess, associated with some value investing, where I got opportunities at some stage to both earn income and pick up shares at a better price if I got exercised.
Wow. So if I were to recapture, basically it's around seeing the power of the conservative nature where you can actually protect your portfolios. And the secondly is in terms of leverage. Now, this leverage is different from the traditional leverage that we know of, because here your risk is limited, especially when you're a buyer. So you can benefit because of the underlying asset really scaling up and then getting that onto the option. And the third was from value investing, where I believe you're referring to selling puts to acquire shares at a discount.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And can you share a little bit, like really actively, when did you start trading options? How many years ago was it?
So I started in 2015, where I did a lot of reading first. Then I decided I'd do some training.
Okay.
I went off and I did some training. I did a few courses. And finally, in 2017, I came across OptionPundit, where I first went to the full day preview that you run. And I really enjoyed that. In fact, it was probably the only preview I've gone to where there was what I would call real meat without dangling something that you have to sign up to get something. So I found it a very good introduction, and I like that introduction And so I signed up to join the PPI course. And again, I did that in 2017, towards the end of 2017. After I did that course, uh, again, I found that the approach and some of the strategies resonated with what I want to do. Not all of them, because I think we each find what suits ourselves. So I found ones which resonated for me. And then I did the subsequent Condor course, which I really liked, and which actually became one of the core things which I did afterwards, because I found that it fitted with my psyche. It fitted with my not having to spend, minutes or hours staring at the screen, but create a plan, then execute the plan, and then follow it, and was not letting it run DIY, but just monitoring, but not the same view to the screen thing, which worked for me. And at the time, I found it it was a good time and time management thing for me.
Yeah, and I think that's fantastic. It was pre-COVID time when we used to run face-to-face trainings, and during the time, yeah, I remember very, very clearly you coming in and profit path intensive, and then also joining for trading condos as business. And I think then we started this Option Pundit Inner Circle as well, which you joined. When was that? Do you remember roughly?
It was May of 2020.
May of 2020. So that was like last year.
Yeah.
And Tony, as I've been saying, and I usually say that trading is not something so easy that you just fund your account and start trading and do it. And majority of the traders end up not really making consistent money. So could I ask you this question? Are you profitable? And if you are profitable since joining, say, Option Pandit in a Circle, which is the most recent one, how is your profit and loss has been?
So yes, I'm profitable. I'm profitable, and I'm, more importantly, I think I'm consistently profitable. Since I joined, I've made 35,000 US dollars.
35,000 US dollars since May of 2020. So that's about roughly 7 or 8 months. May and 12, we are talking 7 or 8 months. Oh, that's fantastic. And as you mentioned, the key is consistency, because there may be some month we make a lot of money, some month we lose a lot of money, but consistently, if we can achieve our goals that we set. So would you say, are you happy the goal that you set for yourself? Are you able to achieve that kind of goal, Tony?
Yeah, I've actually hit the goal I set for myself. And in addition to that, I'm probably scaling up to probably exceed that goal.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Scaling up. So let me understand from you, what actually worked for you? Could you share a little bit what type of strategy, what type of maybe underlying instruments that work for you, Tony?
So I used a couple of different strategies, and when I joined OPIC, I was relatively scaled down small on the things while I was dipping my toe in and getting, I guess, building more confidence. But I primarily work based on, a lot of the strategies are based on trading options on the indexes, like the SPX or the RUT. Those were the two that I trade most. On top of that, some of the basic stocks where, depending upon the strategy, whether it's an earnings strategy or a value investing strategy, I would either buy calls or sell cash secured puts on the stocks. And in some cases, if I sold the calls and got assigned them or got sold, I would use the reverse to continue capitalizing on that stock if I thought it was the right one to use on.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I remember one of the stock that we got into around that period was Boeing.
Yeah.
So we got assigned on Boeing because we sold put. So those who are not familiar with this approach that Tony is mentioning, let me just give you a quick recap of this. Basically, you begin with your journey by selling puts, and you sell puts on the company that you would like to acquire and would like to keep in your portfolio. And if you're not assigned, you make all the premium, you collect all that premium. But if you're assigned and you got the shares at the price you want, then you start your new circle by selling the covered call against it. So you are collecting premium from the calls. And let's say your shares are called away, then you're back in the cash again. And you made money earlier by selling puts, and now by selling call, and you're back into the cash. And let's say for some reason you're not able to get that cash or not being called away, then you want to make sure that you stay in the trade, but also protect so that there is no permanent loss to the capital. And you can keep selling call till the time you are assigned. So the whole approach around here is that you manage your risk and at the same time you manage your capital. And this becomes really well. So that worked very well for you,
Yeah,
Tony.
yeah, worked very
Any
well.
other strategy that worked well for you?
So the other two strategies which I use are selling vertical spreads, which I do quite a lot. That's kind of my mainstay of activities every month, and also iron condors.
Iron condors and selling verticals.
Spreads, yeah.
Um, so selling vertical, basically for those who do not know iron condor, even iron condor is a strategy where you have two vertical spreads. You sell on the put side and you also sell on the call side. So selling vertical spread is essentially like a subset of iron condor. Am I right by saying?
Yeah, correct, yeah.
And what has been your most favorite underlying to use selling verticals?
SPX.
SPX. And do you want to reveal a little bit, like how do you select what strike or what condors? How do you structure your condor or your verticals?
So typically, first from days to expiry, I look at about between around 56 days, somewhere around there, and I do the mathematical 1 sigma thing. I look at that value, and because I'm a little bit conservative, I go a bit outside that. But I do also look at the some technical analysis around the moving averages to see where they fit, and then based upon those factors, I select the values.
Okay. And now condor is a strategy which is more of a market neutral strategy. So, and you're profitable as well. But we have seen that the markets have been trending like since, let's say, May and June. So how are you able to manage? What do you do to manage your situation or your trades if you see the markets are becoming one-sided as opposed to non-directional nature of the underlying strategy?
So I think there are a couple of steps that I take. The first thing is I will generally close out the profitable leg. If the market has risen, then I will close out the put legs and most likely sell more puts again to capitalize. And I will adjust the call side. So I will do some adjustments or perhaps close it out depending upon the values at the time. This is where you have to monitor and depending upon the situation, make a decision. Typically as well, I will, once I'm happy with the level of locked in profit, I will close the entire position and just move on to a new one. Because
yeah, so you're really focusing more on the capital and the risk management as opposed to just trying, keep on repairing, keep on adjusting, and keep on repairing.
Yeah, correct.
That's kind of interesting. And so you mentioned, Tony, that you like to use index like S&P 500, Russell, etc. for iron condos. Any reason why you don't choose the stocks or you don't like the stocks?
I prefer to just deal with the overall market than trying to pick individual stocks. I think there's a lot of stock picking is an art in itself, and then understanding the volatility of it as opposed to the overall market. I think that things can get too influenced by news and various other things, so I'd just rather deal with the overall market.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. And there is one more key factor that also affects, as a condo trader, we normally trade based on a cycle. We go with a frequency. And that frequency will be definitely hampered or will be affected because of the earning announcement. So that's another thing that also comes in between to have a smoother cycle. So very good. Thank you for sharing that part. Now, if you were to look back, since you started learning about options and started trading options, what would you consider are the key traits or key things required for someone to be successful?
I think there are a number. Okay, I think the first, which is you need to work hard. There's no easy journey. You get out what you put in. The second thing I believe is discipline and focus. Okay, you need to be disciplined about what you're doing. You need to have focus on what you're working on, and not be distracted. If you get distracted, you'll lose money. Guaranteed, because you won't be you'll make mistakes. With that, I think you've got two assets. You've got time, you've got money. You need to allocate both very, very carefully to make use of them to get a good return. the thing which I also find is important for me is I associated with discipline, keeping track of your trades, understanding why you get in, reviewing them. For me, having a trading journal is very, very important, that I go back and look at it. Like once a week, I go back and look at all my trades that I've done in the previous week, see what I can learn from them. Some ones that have gone against me, I try and understand why, so that I can refine my approach. And also, I think when you get into trades, being very clear why you're getting into it. Sometimes, you get into a trade, perhaps like a covered call, and then the shares are called away, and you get a bit of seller's remorse. But you got into the trade with a particular objective and purpose. Therefore, you should stick to it and be happy that you achieved your profit goal. So those are some key things for me.
That's so true. So true. Many times, we look at it and say, oh, I wish I would have held on for a long time. I wish I would not have done the covered call and my shares would have been flying. So when you do get such emotions, how do you manage?
So I think it's a bit of experience and just going through it over time. Because originally when I started trading and I started doing the cover calls, every time they were called away, and they subsequently either went much higher or a little higher, I was always a little unhappy, But I think it's when you do the trade initially, you have your plan, you achieve your plan, and you just be happy. I think it's something that you say quite a bit. Okay, nobody goes broke from making profits. So you should really be happy that you've made the profits and move on to the next trade, rather than having the remorse. It's a waste of your time and a waste of your energy. So I've managed to get myself in that position that I no longer think like that.
But one other thing that can also help, especially the viewers who are watching this, while you are going on through the journey and you are seeing your profits and you are feeling that I would not have done this, or I should not have done that. But guess what? If you book profit and you're saying that you book less profit, imagine what would have happened if the stock or the underlying asset would have gone completely opposite. It might as well, right? There is always, it can go up, it can also go down. So if it goes down, let's say if you lose 50%, you need to make 100% to just get back to the break-even level where you were. Every time you lose money, you've got to make more money. So you might as well be happy with the profits you're making and make sure that you don't lose a lot, especially when things go against. And if somebody gives you an impression that you always make money, then just run away. Because in trading, you make money, you lose money. And this business is all around how do you manage your losses and how do you keep your profits and preserve that. That's what this whole thing is all about. Now, there are many traders who would be watching it, who are trying to pick up your brain, trying to pick up some of the ideas from you. Any suggestions, any thought process, any ideas like, okay, this is what you should be doing? Or maybe let's begin with the part of education. A lot of people think that, I just open a brokerage account and I fund it and I maybe search the net or YouTube and etc. And just trying to figure out how important is education in making this a consistent business, Tony?
So I go to my own experience. I started by reading some books, surfing the web and whatever was available at the time. And even though the material was there, I really did not learn until I went on the training courses. So I felt much more equipped after I went on the PPI course, or the trading condors, of course. I think the focus during the training course, the ability to get clarifications, the subsequent walkthrough, and live trading where you can, walk the talk and get some assistance and help, is really what makes the difference. Because when you're doing it by yourself, the only person you can ask is yourself, which isn't really very, very, very good. So I one of the things I found quite good, and I still find to today, is being part of a group, getting the education, getting to understand things, having the ability to ask, having a good support structure where people will help you as time goes on, and not just during the course, but afterwards, where you can get some clarification. I think it makes a big, big difference in your transition from being a learner to being a practitioner.
And how do you keep up with that? What are your sources of, finding those people or finding that community or finding that continuous support?
So I guess OPIC would be a good example as to how I've continued that, because I had a dwindling number of as I would describe trading buddies or not. So it has both an opportunity to learn more, but also to get to know more people. So whilst there is a group and we've been meeting virtually, I chit chat with some of the people offline as well, keep in touch with things. And it, you know, no, if you're in Ireland, all you have is yourself. But if you have
Hmm.
share views with it, I think this. So I found some people to talk with as well in there.
Can you repeat that quote? I like that quote. If you're on an island, you're by yourself,
Yeah,
and
yeah. If you're in Ireland, you're all by yourself. Yeah,
by yourself, yeah. That's so true. Do I have a permission to use that?
sure, no problem.
So, Tony, as you have been going through your journey, you evolved a lot. Do you want to share a little bit, how you put together all these multiple components of trading, education, and etc.? Share some thoughts with my viewers, please.
Okay, may I share the screen?
Yeah, please go ahead. Go ahead, Tony.
So here, Manoj, I kind of summarize my whole uh, trading journey from when I started options trading to what OPIC has done for me, to the main strategies and advice that I have. I think the important thing here is probably around where I got started, where I went through the self-learning. I did some training courses, and then I found OptionPundit's PPI and TCB, which really, I found something that worked for me. And I found something that resonated with me from a education perspective, from a mentoring and support perspective, and a transition from training to practicing. And then obviously my further evolution was joining OPIC. And then what did OPIC do for me? It gave me confidence, allowed me to scale up my trading, confidence through the community that I could contact with and get advice, or post ideas, or post trades for critiques, and then get responses. As part of this, my main strategies are, cash secured puts, as I mentioned, then spreads, both vertical spreads and condors, iron condors. And then my main advice is really around: make sure you have a trading a journal, make sure you allocate your two key assets, time and money, very, very well. Review everything, and learn that selling puts is not free money.
Well, that's brilliant, Tony. That's brilliant. I think it's so succinct. I mean, in a small area, in a small sheet of paper, we get the entire journey of yours. How you evolved through this. So I want to congratulate you for doing that, for putting this together. This is absolutely brilliant, and I think my viewers will also find it useful to find and connect the dots in their own trading journey, and how every component fits in for their own evolution as a trader investor. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
And so we talked about what makes a successful trader. What are the mistakes that you did in your beginning, or even today, if you look back? We all are human beings. We go through ups and downs. We go through mistakes, and we want not to do those mistakes again. So those viewers who are looking at it, can you advise them? Can you share what the mistake that they should avoid?
So I think for me initially, um, the I guess the errors or things that I may have done wrong was uh, the FOMO fear, the
Oh,
FOMO fear, and
fear of missing out.
the resultant trades, which really I shouldn't have taken, um, which I rushed into. Um, Secondly, when I started selling cash secured puts, I thought it was wonderful at the start. I've got all this money coming in from stuff, and I don't have to worry about it. But the penny does drop, and you do have to buy the shares. So you have to be very, very sure when you are doing things. Um, to me, the other big change that I've made in my thing, which from things was, I had done a lot of selling cash secured puts, as we mentioned, and as a result, I ended up missing the upside. So I think really thinking about balancing what your objective is, doing the risk management with other strategies to actually catch the upside was something that was important for me. And since I changed my strategies in those areas, I think I've benefited significantly.
Yeah, I think you brought up a very good point. A lot of time, option traders tend to think they are either buyer or they're seller. And I don't think it's that binary. It's basically you need to have both the skills.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember very clearly one of the company that, in fact, you introduced me to was NCNO. I didn't know about that company before. And I see all this sector booming. We see that computer sector, we see this automation sector and etc. all booming. And we said, hey, we can also benefit from it. Yeah, we can sell put, we can collect whatever premium we can, but there are some strategies that can be employed to benefit immensely if it really does go our well. And remember, very recently we did the NCNO trade. We straight away purchased calls, and we decided that, yeah, we want to be a buyer here because we see great rush. And I think it was just less than a week. We booked more than double-digit profits pretty quickly.
Yeah. I think 50% we made.
50% profit, yeah. So I mean, those who are watching this, you need to learn both buying as well as selling. Selling gives you limited credit, but yes, it's consistent. It gives you limited credit, but you can't make a lot of money by just doing that. And you also need a lot of money in case if you are, assigned and you need to hold on to those shares. On the other hand, buying loses value because because options are a decaying asset. So your options are going to lose value. But on the other hand, if you are right about the time and if you are right about the direction, you can also reap some really, really solid gains just being the buyer. So you have to have both strategies in your portfolio. Any other thing, Tony, that you would like to share or guide them from a mistakes point of view?
It's really what I said previously. I think the most important thing actually is keeping a trading journal and going through that and reviewing it. I think if there was one thing I would have to say, that's probably one of the most significant things that has helped me anyway.
So I did pick up a few things, as you mentioned, just recapping for the viewers, is of course, if you're on an island, you're all by yourself. So you're going to make sure that you are connected with real traders and you are connected with those, maybe some trading buddies, it may be your spouse, maybe your friend, whoever that may be, but someone who trades with real money. And then making sure that you keep a journal, making sure that you work hard, don't lose the focus, and make sure that you have a proper plan and objective. Why are you doing it and how you're doing it? Just because you funded account doesn't mean that you are a well-accomplished trader. Then other thing that Tony also mentioned is that put together an education plan, learn it well so you can see what you want to do. Do you have a good and solid understanding of it? Wherever you learn from, it doesn't matter, but make sure your coach or your mentor, you have access to it. You can reach out to them, whichever form that may be, a community form or support form, because you would need some help coming in to make sure you can do it better. And above all, I think another thing that he also mentioned is on capital allocation and making sure that your sizing is right, making sure that you're managing your risk very, very well. This is really good, Tony. I enjoyed having conversation with you. Any other gems, anything you would like to share before we wrap up?
I think that's it. I think we've covered everything.
Well, then thank you for being on the show, Tony. It was a privilege to talk to you and to see your progress, to see how consistently you have been achieving success in option. I wish you continuous success and consistency, and just be good at it and keep sharing and keep helping others also.
Yeah, just I would say thanks, Manoj. I think that the program you put together is wonderful. It brings together many aspects into a complete education program and mentoring program to allow us to grow. And rather than being given fish, we're taught how to fish and feed ourselves.
Well, thank you for the kind word, Tony. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and I see you some other time. So those who are watching it, leave a comment for Tony. If you pick up a few things, please mention in the comments below. Let him know you enjoyed the show, you enjoyed watching him, or if any questions there, I will request Tony to come back later on and answer your questions too. And keep watching it. I see you in the next show with my new guest. And till that time, enjoy.